All right, my name is Lawrence Hoffman. I'm one of the board members on ESD number 6. Thank you all for joining us here. You know, we're here to support y'all and support your fire department and your firefighters right behind y'all. So let me introduce the board members here for ESD 6. Mark Blythe, obviously you know. Sandy Wilson. We're missing one of the board member, Joanne Evans. She had to work tonight. It's National Night Out, so she's supporting that in Hondo. So again, my name is Lawrence Hoffman, and tonight we're going to have a speaker, Erica Blythe.
Before we get started, I just want to introduce you to the Yancey Volunteer Fire Department. Everyone that you see here tonight gives up their own personal time to help fight the fires and respond to emergency scenes within their area here, just south of Hondo, and then down, not quite to Moore, and then some almost out towards D'Hanis. And so we're very grateful for them. Tim Leal is the president, Seth Ralph, the vice president, Robin Pate is the secretary treasurer, Shane Blythe is director of instruction, and Kevin Krause, the director of fundraising for the department. Thank you for all the volunteer fire departments. They are completely voluntary, both in Hondo and Yancey. So currently, in order to fund the volunteer fire departments, right now, if you were to look at your tax statement that you receive from the Medina County Appraisal District, there is actually a 7.5-cent tax for every $100 of property value. So let's say, for instance, you have a $96,976 home or piece of property that is given that value. The tax rate that is levied in order to fund the emergency service district, that property owner would pay $72.73, which is approximately $6.06 per month. And so that's a good example. The $96,976 just so happens to be the average property value within the district itself. Not Medina County, but just the emergency service district number 6. One of the things that's, multiple things are actually impacting the driving force for the emergency service district. There are concerns for increased wildland fire threats. You know, as more people come in, they have what they call the wildland urban interface. And so as more people move in, they have homes and structures that they place next to open properties that are considered wildland areas that are untouched. And so as our firemen and firewomen go out, they are, having to go out further into areas that they had never been having to go before. And the more population that you have, the more probability there is to have a fire or some type of emergency. With that, they have the equipment and station needs. As the district is a particular size, when they go out and they're having to go to these areas that have not been touched or they've never visited previously before, they're experiencing terrains, brush, hills, and different types of soil where their trucks get sunk down in, or they're having to be more cautious. And so because of that, and because of the different types of fires that they're fighting or emergencies that they're responding to, they're actually needing more equipment. And as technology advances, they are actually, to better fight these or to better respond, they need more equipment. The emergency service district really wants to have improved response times. Right now, they want to make sure that as more people come in, there are enough facilities that are able, to have equipment closer to different areas where people are being, our firemen and firewomen are responding. And so we want to improve the response times. And because of the growth and development, there's so much growth that's taking place within the district. I remember 7 years ago when I moved here, if I drove from Yancey all the way to Hondo, I would see maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 vehicles, and later in the evening, maybe 1. And now you can constantly hear traffic going by. And so with the growth and development, one of the things is, making sure that we have people available to respond. And in addition to the emergency service district's responsibilities to make sure that there are enough funds, they want to make sure that they diversify funds, not only with property taxes, but different alternatives for diversification. This is a good example of a wildland fire. You see, this is a county type road, and off to the side they're fighting fires. You can see that there's some telephone wires, telephone lines, or electric poles actually, and they're just off to the side having to jump fences or cut fences, trying to get into people's property in order to put those out. One of the things that when you're in these areas, there are not a lot of pressurized fire hydrants or water services available. Just because there's there is a fire hydrant visible does not necessarily mean that there is enough pressure to power or to put out a fire or to fill the trucks up fast enough in order to be able to refill and go back out and fight again. And so you can see that they're getting into brushy areas. It's harder on equipment, as I mentioned before, and it requires new tactics. They're having to become more savvy as to how to fight the fires and how to respond in different emergency situations. This is an example of the Hondo Fire Station, and obviously this one's a little more different. But the buildings themselves, this is a type of facility that the Emergency Service District Board is looking at should they add more facilities in the future. As I talked about before, we see more traffic going by, and the Medina County in itself, the whole county, is growing at 4.3%. And that's a considerable growth factor. And this is double the U.S. projection for the area. And so what was originally projected, there's actually more growth that's taking place on a regular basis. And so the board wants to make sure that the fire departments and the emergency responders are able to get there. It means more calls for help because of a greater population, and more traffic delays that they have to encounter. More people that they're having to face on the roads. So in order to be able to fund the additional requirements for equipment and facilities, different types of training, the board has had to consider some different options in order to fund the fire departments. One would be to raise property taxes, which there's already a tax in place. With their desire to diversify, they want to consider some other alternatives besides raising property taxes at this time. Finding alternative revenue sources. An example would be a sales tax to be imposed on businesses, kind of similar to a consumption tax. When people purchase services or products, then a tax would be charged, and thereby funding the emergency service district. And then their concern is, as the area becomes more populated, without the expansion of new services, new facilities, new equipment, if they don't expand, then it thereby, with the added population, reduces services. And that's not what the board is looking for at this time. One of the little reminders that was put here at the front, and if you don't have one, make sure you get one. But it's a reminder to vote. On November 3rd, the reason that we're here tonight is kind of just discussing there's a proposed additional 1.5% sales tax. And the sales tax is not a property tax, so it's not in addition to what you're paying on your home or your property right now. It is merely a consumption tax. The tax will be levied through businesses within the district itself, in areas outside of the Hondo city limits. Hondo, by the state of Texas has legislation that maxes out a percent in sales tax. Hondo is currently at that level right now. And so the tax would not be added to the sales tax that's already paid in Hondo, but just to the areas outside of that right now. So the additional tax would be a 1.5% sales tax, bringing in an estimated revenue of $100,000 to help with what the board is facing as far as their driving forces in order to improve and bring in additional funds for the district. And so you can see, if you were to remove just the area within Hondo, the sales tax will impact any products, purchases, or services that are subject to a sales tax within the district, and help bring in an estimated $100,000. That's based upon financial projections that they've done. I want to thank you for your attention and for your time that you've taken to come out this evening. And if you have any questions now, the board members will be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.